All right, good morning, everybody, again, and welcome to Getting Started with Microsoft 365, presented by Opsagility. As I said earlier, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask and are hoping to get answered by the end of this webinar, you can go ahead and pose them now in the chat window, and we'll try to make sure that we answer those questions with the time that we have. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ryan Romero. I'm a Senior Cloud Training Architect for Opsagility and Skill Me Up. I generate content for both the Skill Me Up and Opsagility platform for Microsoft 365 services, Teams for both end users and administrators. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can do so at Twitter, at my Twitter handle there, or my Opsagility email, or on LinkedIn. All right, for this introduction, we're going to go over all the basic functionality and services of Microsoft 365 from the end user perspective. We're going to touch on some specifics with Microsoft Teams, SharePoint Online, and OneDrive for Business, and follow that up with some demonstrations. We have about 10 slides here before we move on to demonstrations, and then have about 15 minutes for Q&A at the end, or for any additional demonstrations someone might like to see. All right, let's dive in. So what is Microsoft 365? And again, this is from the end user perspective. We want to define Microsoft 365 as a modern cloud service that's delivering classic productivity suite tools or apps that many of you are familiar with, like Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, but with robust collaboration features, all powered by Microsoft Cloud. So think of Office 365 as Office Anywhere. You can access it from a browser, from your desktop, or from mobile device. And if configured correctly, you can even access that without traditional bounds such as VPNs or things like that. You could use one Microsoft 365 with your business organization or school organization from your personal computer or computer provided for you or from different platforms. And all that's powered through the Microsoft Cloud. So when we're talking about the services available with 365, we invite you to think of it as a seamless collaboration service. So many users have had experience over the past couple of years getting on board with real-time collaboration features that are available through suites like, let's say, Google Apps, or even Microsoft 365 if you've been an early adopter of it. And what that really provides with Microsoft is that you can combine traditional applications like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel with real-time collaboration that you would see in modern solutions. You can work on the same documents with others. You can share those documents with people inside your organizations and outside with guest users. And all of that's powered through SharePoint, OneDrive, and older services that are going to be retired and replaced like Skype for Business with Microsoft Teams. So when we talk about real-time collaboration, the term that Microsoft uses is co-authoring. So you can actually have multiple users or multiple people accessing the same document in real time from different locations, whether they're inside your organization or across the world, and updating that document accordingly. Updates are saved and tracked in version history, similar to track changes if you've used that feature in, let's say, a Word document. But it's a lot easier to work with now with the latest revisions of the service with Microsoft 365. It is a multi-platform service, so you can access and Office 365 Word documents, Excels, PowerPoints, really from anywhere, even without installing any software. If you're using a Chrome-based browser or an Edge browser, they can access without actually installing or having something downloaded, even if they don't have the space if they're on a lightweight hardware. So with that, you could have somebody access through a computer remotely, let's say in a public location, get secure access through a web browser and actually work on some files without having to download or install something. So there's new solutions being offered with 365. I'm sure with COVID-19 going on, everybody's heard about the latest push to working from home and having those work efforts supported by Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams. So Teams is built on a lot of these services that we're going to talk about, such as SharePoint, OneDrive for storing your files and sharing your files, but being able to collaborate them in a single point of glass using either the Teams app or something that's more familiar if you want to go in through the Word app or Excel or PowerPoint or go in through SharePoint, you can do that. And again, Microsoft 365 supports both guest and external access. So you can actually bring people outside of your organization in and collaborate with them in real time if you need to, with both IP video calls or conferencing, but also working on documents. And you can also federate with other businesses that your organization trusts to be able to work with them a little bit more efficiently. Some of you might be familiar with that. Was when you type in somebody's email address on your Outlook and it automatically pops up when they're outside your domain. So again, we're talking about seamless collaboration and really productivity from anywhere. So with what's going on with COVID-19, a lot of businesses and organizations have been forced to come up with new solutions for their workforces to get online and work from home or work remotely. And Microsoft 365 is a cloud-based service that doesn't rely on traditional means for security or connecting with your organizations, such as VPNs. It's actually designed to work much better without using VPNs, but still gives you a robust suite of security features that administrators will be taking care of if they want to give you the best solution. Some of you might be still using 365 through a VPN, and that's okay, but just know that that feature or that capability is there and may become a part of a common solution for you in the future. You can, because it's a cloud service, it doesn't mean that you have to always be connected to the internet to work. You can work just as you would traditionally in offline mode. You can make updates to documents if you have the software downloaded to your desktop, your laptop, and those updates will be pushed whenever you do connect to the internet anywhere in the world that you can establish a connection to any Microsoft public service. You can use your company offered equipment if it's configured and the software is downloaded for you, or some of you might be in an organization where you have your bring your own device, and that's either a mobile or even a computer, and they will grant you a 365 account. They can log in, and you don't have to use any pre-provisioned hardware for you. Everything just works. It's very smooth and very fluid. You might have some additional authentication factors, but it all is very secure. Just a new concept people are becoming familiar with as technology moves forward in the cloud. You can integrate Microsoft 365 common applications, again, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, with new integration features like 365 connectors, Power BI, if your business is using that to automate some visualizations or automate some workflows with the Power Platform, and some security concepts such as single sign-on. So some of you might have used single sign-on or currently use single sign-on to use your business email or your business account to log on to applications outside the Microsoft environment. So you get prompted with a Microsoft login page if you're accessing a proprietary application or maybe internal business application, but you're actually using the authentication service provided with your Outlook email or your Office 365 account. So that's still integrated here as well, and actually very easy to use in different iterations. So if that's been confusing with you in the past as you started to work from home, or if you're with a new company and using a lot of these new services, just know that single sign-on is going to be a staple moving forward as technology progresses, only having one account to sign into multiple things, whether they are housed in the same environment or not. Additionally, as we move forward, staying up to date is very easy with all your software. In traditional means, we usually had to rely on maintenance times or having our computer always connected to an organization network or connecting to a VPN to get updates or software updates. With Microsoft 365, a lot of those updates are handled automatically and in the background and are very unobtrusive. You may still have to comply to your business's update needs and your IT department. However, it's designed to work on the fly in the background with or without a connection to your business network. And that's especially true when we start talking about Microsoft Teams. So you and your Office 365 account. So some of you might have a personal Office 365 account that you use with, let's say, your Hotmail or Outlook.com that you've established for your personal business with Microsoft. Some of you might have your business organization email address and account, and this is your account for getting onto Microsoft 365 services. Or you might have been provided one if you're a student working with an educational institution and what their services hosted on 365 as well. Anyways, this is your single identity, right? You can use this to access many different services all in one without having to manage multiple accounts, multiple emails, or the very traditional means of having maybe to input some backslashes or different networks to log into different things. It's all very singular and easy to manage. And your Office 365 account is what determines your accessibility, your licensing, and your group membership wherever your account is placed by administrators, which further grants you access to different content, private content shared within a group, or different application levels if your organization has different licensing for different applications. But you should be able to use this to sign on in one place. And your Office 365 account does support multi-factor authentication, and I'm sure many of you are already using that. And the native solution is to use the Microsoft Authenticator app with your smartphone, where you generate a key or a token that you input after signing in, just like a simple alphanumeric passcode that changes every 30 seconds. You might have to just click a button. Sometimes there might be multiple forms of authentication. You might have to do something else as well and put in several passwords. But just know that that is traditionally implied or included with services by your IT administrators and given for you as you go into the Microsoft 365 environment. When we started talking about the security practices as we move to the cloud, you might be in an environment where your IT administrators have put different restrictions on where you can sign in from in the world. So they can actually manage where and how you sign in using your Microsoft 365 account based off your IP address, your IP location, where you are in the world, if you're accessing from a platform that they allow, whether it's a desktop, a Windows desktop, a Mac OS desktop, or even your mobile devices, a tablet, a Chromebook, they can control all of that very granularly. So if they want to limit it to only specific types of hardware that you're able to sign on to, they can, and you might be subject to that. So just be aware if you're having trouble signing on that way. And usually out of the box or by default, there is some inactivity timeouts. That means if you're working, let's say on like a public computer or a computer that's not directly connected to a in-office network, it might sign out on you after about 15 to 20 minutes worth of inactivity. And that's just a security feature that's usually maintained in place out of the box or by the default configurations of Microsoft 365. So if you see yourself constantly getting logged out, just know that it's a security thing and maybe talk to your IT administrator about what those constraints are. All right, so Microsoft Teams has been a very hot topic as of late because it's become really rapidly one of the biggest and fastest ways that teams can work either remotely, work from home in response to COVID-19, and have a full suite of services for everything that they would need in a business or for workflows or for any type of workload that you need to accomplish. You know, the key things that you see right now are the private group chats and the video conferencing and screen sharing. Microsoft Teams can have meetings with up to 250 people, and that's 250 people with audio and video and screen sharing capabilities. And you can even go beyond that with live events, which is up to 10,000 viewers of your live event that you hosted. And we'll go into that later. Microsoft Teams, some of you might already be using it as a replacement for Skype for Business and your dialing plan. So some of you might have been in an environment where you've been using Skype for Business that's integrated with an actual phone number, whether it's at a phone line at your desk with a hard phone, or maybe on a smartphone that's been issued to you. And Microsoft Teams is the replacement for that and carries over all of that functionality. So just know that you have private and group chat on an IP basis, meaning that you want to connect to somebody else's Office 365 account, have an online hosted conversation, and that's included out of the box. That's the easiest way to get up and running and connect with your peers or with other people. But you can also add additional dialing plans and call routing and audio bridges and audio conference lines that enable people to call in from phones without having to connect to Microsoft Teams or having an Office 365 account. So you really gain a whole bunch of different avenues to collaborate, talk, and speak and work with people. Microsoft Teams is freely available on desktop. It's available through a browser if you don't want to install something, or if you're using a guest computer. It's available on your mobile, iOS, and Android. And you can even have it if you're using in a virtualized environment. So some of you might be using desktops that are provided virtually. You might have to sign on and get your desktop through another desktop, and it can be available in there as well. but that service is downloadable. Anybody can access it. It all really depends on what your Office 365 account is, how it's provisioned, and what groups you're a part of. And you can have multiple accounts to multiple organizations. I, for me, have about 6 or 7 different accounts to log into different tenants and organizations, and I can use them all interchangeably and do the work that I need to do. And the application itself on mobile and desktop is updated on its own in the background. You never have to worry about it. And you never have to worry about if you're hosting a meeting or if you're connecting to a call that if your connection is degraded, that you're going to impact the entire call. Let's say if you scheduled a meeting that's not true. While your connection, if you have a bad internet connection or something, like if there's some interference or something going on like that, it may only impact your experience, but it's not going to impact everybody else in the call. And that's because you're not hosting anything. Your business isn't hosting Teams meetings within their own internal hardware. It's all run within Microsoft Cloud. And you can think of it very simply as I'm connecting to an internet server just like everybody else. Microsoft Teams, not only is it just for video calling and audio conferencing, but you bring that together with file sharing and application integration. Okay, so you can bring in your files shared on SharePoint, and when you create new groups or new teams in Microsoft Teams, you actually get all of that created for you. So it's very low stress, very a low amount of input, but you get a lot out of it. You get your SharePoint automatically provisioned. You get things like OneNote automatically provisioned. Your files shared with the group are automatically stored in SharePoint. And you can add application integration with other existing applications that you may already be using, like Jira or Box or what have you. They have a platform of a wide range of supported applications that's growing every day. And you can even add your own proprietary applications, and your IT department can add some very proprietary solutions in order to integrate with Teams, so you never have to move outside of that screen. There are some common integrations if you've been using the Skype for Business button or set up a Skype for Business meeting in your Outlook when you're sending new calendar invites. That has been translated to Microsoft Teams as well. And if you're currently using Skype for Business, you might have been hearing about Teams upgraded. That is because Microsoft is planned to replace Teams, replace Skype for Business fully with Teams by the end of next year. I don't know if that's going to change because of what's going on in the world, but I know that that was the original target date as of last year. Again, you can invite external users or guests to collaborate with you within Teams, whether they're a part of your organization, whether they have a license or not. Most enterprise solutions include guest licensing for that. And if you need someone that's say an outside agent or consultant that you need to see some documents that you need to meet with regularly, you can make it a lot easier for them and maintain security and compliance with the parameters that are set up by your IT department. Live events are something you may have experienced. So Teams is a production suite for live events, which can host up to 10,000 attendees. And it's very simple. You don't have to have, if you don't have a robust hardware or audio recording or video recording equipment, it's the same as hosting a meeting, just on a much larger scale. You can schedule the event, send out the link to all of the people that you need. You can post it somewhere. People can access your event. And then if you're sharing content, if you're a presenter, or if you have multiple presenters, you go about that in the same way as you would on a Skype for Business call or a Teams call, and share your screen if you need to. If it's just going to be you and your video source, you can do that as well. You can mute, unmute, have some chat going on, and you have full control of that, and that's delivered with Microsoft Stream services. That's included with Microsoft 365 business level licensing. Last note on this page, again, I keep talking about SharePoint and OneDrive, and we're going to go into those here very shortly. Just know that when you share documents or collaborate on them in Teams, what you're really doing is collaborating on those files that are hosted either on SharePoint or OneDrive. And the difference being is that files shared within a team, working together on a team, shared within a Teams tab, are shared on a SharePoint site for your team, for your organization group, your 365 group. If you want to share a file directly with somebody with a private chat or a private group chat, let's say 3 to 4 people, that's shared on your OneDrive. And when you upload a file there, you're putting it on your OneDrive, but you're automatically granting permissions to the people that you're chatting with to view the files on your OneDrive and copy it to their OneDrive as well. And I'll go through that demonstration here shortly. All right, so Microsoft SharePoint. Microsoft SharePoint has been a hot topic in the past, notably because for the end user, it might not be the most friendly thing to use to build a website or an intranet website for your business that looks very appealing or is easy to work with. And they may have made strides to make that better for users to build rich content that could be consumed with things that are low code. You don't have to do anything intricate with, and just make it a little bit easier to work with, to share content, to publish articles, and to highlight documents and do versioning and things like that. You still have all the traditional concepts of lists and libraries, and you can build some really robust solutions, but it's just been made much simpler to get started out of the box with a website that looks great, that people wanted to use. And if it looks great, people are going to be more keen to use it out of the box. And especially with integrations with Teams, your SharePoint will start to build and populate itself automatically and build content for you and present it in a way that's very easy to consume and very easy for people to move back and forth. So just know that if you're not if you're very comfortable with working with documents in SharePoint but are new to the Teams concept, know that you can work in either place and you can work with the platform that's most comfortable for you. There's some new web parts included, like new 365 connectors with Teams, and you can go in there and invite, if you've been customizing web pages in the past, using web parts to ingest libraries or images or whatever, just know that there's a lot more features that are a lot more easy to use, including connectors for outside applications without doing any robust configurations. And SharePoint is that central place for seamless file access. So remember that you're never going to be able to share a document without using SharePoint in some way if you're sharing it with a team. So it's always going to be hosted in a document library somewhere. And this is also true for Yammer. If you're using Yammer for large scale chat, Microsoft Yammer can host up to like 10,000 people on a big chat surface and keep history there. Anything that's shared there is now integrated with SharePoint in a document library, and you can go manipulate those documents in either SharePoint, in Yammer, from Teams, whatever the client is that you prefer. It's all the same thing. So OneDrive for Business, if you're not familiar with it or you're concerned about storing your documents on somewhere else other than your own laptop or maybe like a USB or an external device, yes, it is cloud storage, but it's private cloud storage for your organization that's been provisioned directly for you and private to your specific account. So when we're talking about, let's save something to OneDrive for Business, put it on OneDrive for Business to back up. Some of you might be working with an integrated software solution where it's actually part of your Windows file navigation that you can save it in a folder named OneDrive for Business under your account. And when you save it there, it automatically replicates to the cloud. Rest assured that by default, nobody can see your OneDrive for Business data unless you make it available to them, other than senior level IT administrators for your organization. Microsoft can't see it. Other people in your group can't see it. It's all you unless you choose to do so. But when you host files there, that's how you gain the ability to share them directly with others, give them access, whether it's read, whether it's write, whether they can copy it for themselves, download it and work it offline. You can control all of that. And when you put a file in your OneDrive folder, it syncs everywhere. So let's say you have a laptop to work from home, and you might have another one at work, or you have a mobile device or a tablet that your business has given you. When you update a document that's stored in OneDrive, you update it, it updates automatically in all your places so long as they're connected to the internet. So you never have to worry that, oh, did I save this, or did I bring my document over? Do I need to email it to myself to make sure I'm working on the latest one? And it'll always be updated for you so long as that internet connection is healthy, and you'll be able to see the last time your files has synced with OneDrive, and same thing with SharePoint. So we've already talked about it before, but just to reiterate, the integration with Teams private chat will demonstrate how OneDrive supports private chat for hosting your files, and what you can do after you've maybe shared a file with somebody else in a private chat, but you want to delete it further, or maybe share it out with other people. You can change and get very granular with how you do that. And then storing things in OneDrive is always a good practice because it's both backup and really automation at the same time, because when you upload it there, it's being stored in a secure manner in the Microsoft Cloud, meaning that even if you were to lose your laptop, you were to lose your mobile device, you wouldn't lose your documents because they're in the cloud. And all you would have to do is, on a new device, connect your OneDrive, and your files would be replicated back down. It's only when you physically, or you as a user, manually delete something, is when something will be removed. And even then, it's only moved to a recycle bin state. We call that soft deleting, where it can be recovered within 30 days, which is the default, but your business might have a different parameter or a different constraint for how long things are stored in soft delete mode before they can be no longer recovered at all. But you will be able to go back at least for the first 7 to 30 days at a minimum to go and recover something that you may have manually deleted, or maybe somebody else has manually deleted that you gave permissions to. And then you can even use OneDrive files that you upload for more sophisticated solutions. You can include them as part of your automate flows if you're using the Power Platform, Power Apps, and even use them as part of your Power BI solution as well, and get very sophisticated with that. All right, so we're reaching the end of our slide deck, and we're about halfway through our hour here, and we're going to move on to some demos. But these are all the new images or icons for the latest PowerPoint, Word, OneNote, Teams, Excel that you might see, OneDrive. So just get familiar with seeing those now as you work in Office 365. And remember that you can access Office now from anywhere, and you'll always be able to at least view. And editing might be a little bit constricted depending on how you're accessing. You'll always have the full access if you're working on the desktop versions in the classical sense, but you'll always be able to at least view and make minor changes as needed if accessing from a tablet or a phone or something like that. All right, so we're going to move on to the demonstration period. I need to get my window up and running here. All right, so with your 365 account, after you've logged in, and you know what, I'm actually going to demonstrate what that's like to log in for the first time. So traditionally, you can log in to your Office 365 account at what's called portal.office.com. And this brings you to a generic site where you can log into any Office 365 account, whether it's your business account, your personal account, or your work account. I'm gonna go grab my credentials here. And this is your email address that's been associated with your account. If your business has customized the background or any theme with your Office 365 suite, you might see the background change depending on where you're logging in, or you might even see additional logins here as you start to save logins over time if you're using different tenants or logging into different accounts or groups. Usually you'll get prompted with this, do you want to stay signed in? If you're allowed to stay in, if you don't have any timeout constraints that we talked about earlier. And then this is the main landing page. And when you get here, you can see all the apps that are available to you. And I want you to take a look at a few things. First of all, if you're able to get to this page or you hit any error at this point, I would say reach out to your team, your technical administrator, and figure out, hey, have I been licensed appropriately? Do I have access to 365? You may very well have an account if you're a new employee or get to a new organization, they might cut it for you, but cutting an account and assigning it to somebody is different than also assigning them a license to be using 365 services. So there might just been a miscue there. But if you do get here, you'll be able to see how much access or services you're being granted by your organization. And you can see that here. So some of you might not see as many apps as I see right now. And this is an enterprise level license that I have. So this is representative if I work in a mid-level size enterprise company that has an enterprise E3 license for me as a specific user, and they grant me access to all of these services. You see your Outlook, your OneDrive, your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, Yammer, so on and so forth. They even have access to Dynamic 365, my Power App suite, some additional apps that you may not be so familiar with like Delve or Stream. Then I'm also an administrator, so I have access to the administrator suite if I were to go there. And on your landing page, you do get, if you have some content that's already generated within the groups that you're working with, or maybe content that's been shared with you as you start to work, you might not see something here from the beginning, but over time, it'll grow. And you'll see the last time that a document's been updated, the last time you updated something, or maybe somebody else has updated something that's been shared with you. And as you can see, you get activity alerts as something's changed. I've been an administrator for this account, and I can see when things have changed. And you can go on here, everything that's recent, maybe some documents that you'd like to pin here and keep them for quick access, things that have been shared with me by others. Nobody's been sharing anything with me of late, so nothing's here. and things that I can go discover that I think are most important to me, or maybe somebody's recommended to me using a service like Microsoft Delve. Okay, so what we're going to start with is we're going to start with Microsoft Teams, just because that's such a great single point of glass for how the rest of these applications work. So from here, I'm going to go click on Microsoft Teams, and it's going to first try to open in the web browser. Now, if I have the web app installed, if I have the software, the client actually installed on my computer, I would just click this button and it would ask me to load and log on through my desktop client. I'm on a Windows machine right now. However, I'm logged into Teams for other organizations, and you can only be logged on one platform to one organization at once. So let me say that again. So if I have the desktop client and I'm logged on to business A, I cannot be logged on the desktop client to business B, C, D, etc. I'd have to sign off and sign back on. How I get around that is that I can log on from different platforms. So even though I'm logged into one business with my desktop client, I can log into another organization using the web client. So get the web app if you don't install it. If you don't have it installed on your client and you have permissions to install things on your desktop, you can click that button here. Otherwise, I'm going to click to launch this in the web app. And this brings me to the Microsoft Teams client, which some of you might have already been seeing or been working with. And I can even enable desktops if I'm working in the web app or working on, let's say, a guest computer. And it looks very similar. You have all the functionality in here that you would of a desktop client, minus some few niche things like being able to present your screen in a video meeting if you've been doing that. And that what that means is I need to host a meeting, I need to present something on my screen and then give somebody control, like remote access, if it was like maybe a help desk person to come in and actually take control of my mouse here. Those are things that you couldn't do with the web app, but you still have a lot of functionality and it works very much the same way. So if you're not familiar with Teams, this is the basic layout. You have that purple bar that's pretty significant that you're within Teams, and you can change some themes and features here if you like. If you click on your account and you go into settings and you can customize what things look like. If you prefer a dark format, you can do that. If you need some high contrast, you can do that as well. I prefer to work in the dark format, but for the webinar purposes, I'll move back to the default in the light format. I give some other options here about privacy, how things notify me, whether it's in an email or whether it's a pop-up banner when there's actions going on in Microsoft Teams, and how I do my call handling, how my devices ring if I have like a headset or speakers and things like that. I can set up my voicemail if I have a dialing solution that's integrated with Teams, so on and so forth here. And you can customize your settings out of the box. I invite you that you do that if it's your first time setting up Teams. And then moving on here, it starts from the activity feed or the last application on the side navigation bar that you were working in. So the last one was I was in chat, and these are my direct chats, but I also can go into the teams, and these are all the teams that I'm a part of and that I can see within my organization, whether they're private or public. This is my calendar, similar to Outlook calendar, where I can see any meetings. I don't have anything scheduled in here right now, and I can start a meeting now if I absolutely need to and invite somebody immediately. Any of the files that I've shared with anybody in my actions on Teams, I can see in one place here. And then lastly, if you're using calling and you have a dialing plan for your service, this is where you can see it. I have one set up just for this account, but we won't go into that today because that can get very proprietary depending on your organization. So I want to go back and I want to highlight two things here. We're going to talk about chat and we're going to talk about Teams. Starting with chat. Chat is very simply your one-to-one or group private messaging with anybody. You can start a new chat with anybody or one that's in your organization. You just search for the name and they come right up. And because I already have this person in my chat window history here, I can see everything that I've done with them. If I want to type a message, it's as simple as that. If I want to attach any files here, I can upload it from OneDrive or upload from my computer. You do have some really common communication trends like GIFs. You can, if your organization has allowed it, you might have some more options here to do some more robust video sharing content. If there's a video that's being hosted on Microsoft Stream and I have a link, I could post that here and send it to somebody. All of that's really here. It's a modern chat service. This is just between me and this person, Adele. If I wanted to add and make this a group chat, all I have to do is click the add button and I can add somebody else. So now this is a group chat, and I can see that it's created a new channel between Adele and Miriam, not just my single chats with Adele or Miriam. And anything saved here or sent here will be shared with all of them. Simple as that. And again, this isn't available to anybody else outside of these three people here that we're talking with, myself and these two individuals. If I want to share a file directly with somebody and I want to upload something new, just click the share button and I can upload from my computer or upload from OneDrive. I'm going to quickly upload something here. Let's do, I'm going to share a quick presentation about Teams. You can see that I have my notification that things are being uploaded and I need to refresh the page. You can simply do that by going back to the chat. You can see that in the chat, it notifies the person, hey, I shared a new presentation with you, and it's back invisible in my files. What's unique about this is that you can go into the file that's just been shared from this location without even opening, I shared a PowerPoint file here, without even opening PowerPoint itself. I can open it in here. I can modify this as I want. I can present. I could use this if I was sharing with other people. It's very easy to do. And you can do this from any platform that you're signing on from Teams from. And even if I didn't like this, I didn't want to go through Teams, I could go into PowerPoint right now on my desktop or in the web browser and access this. I can go access it through OneDrive. Let's go do that and see what that looks like right now. So let me go back to chat. You can see this here. I know this is sorted my OneDrive because it's an individual chat between me and Adele. So if I click my apps button here and go into my OneDrive, I should see it there and it should be automatically organized for me. So you can see some files that I've uploaded here. I see this folder called Microsoft Teams Chat with this little icon that shows that there's something new. And there it is. There's my file that I just shared uniquely with that chat. And if I were to go in here and look at the permissions, I would see that it's just shared between me and Adele. And if I did want to access it with Teams, I could access it from SharePoint by just clicking on it. And I see that's been uploaded for me. I can work on this as well. I don't have to click the save button because this is the Microsoft Online version where I can work on this without having to work on it on my desktop app. But if I needed to, I could just click that open in desktop app button right now. I won't do that because this is a test environment and it might take over my computer that I'm working in other environments on, but know that it's a great way to work within the web browser without having to do any installs or connections offline that you need to do. All right, let's go back here. So let's go back to the difference of chat and sharing files here than it is with Teams. So let's take a look at, I'm part of the sales and marketing team, and there's been some content shared in here. And I have all the same tabs up top here, files, wiki, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Maybe some other tabs where they've shared specific files. Okay, and if I share a new file in here and go to the SharePoint site, I should see that file has been copied over. And I'm going to create a new document this time. Again, that's without uploading anything, and I can go ahead and create something from scratch if I need to create something quick. And that's supported for Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Go ahead and write something here, keep it saved. And notice that I don't have any save button to click. Now I can save it as, and save it directly to my desktop or in a different location if I need to. But any edits that I make here are saved and updated in real time for everybody else. And I'll demonstrate that. So I've just updated this document. I'm not going to do anything else but click out of it. I'm going to go back into the teams that I was working on, which is sales and marketing. You can see my new special document that I just created there in files. And everything's saved there. Never clicked any save button. Again, if I wanted to see where this is actually saved, not just working in Teams, but say I was accessing through SharePoint, click the Open in SharePoint button, and it's saved here as well. I can see that I'm under my sales and marketing SharePoint page, which has already been stood up. If I look at that home page, I can show you what that looks like. So they have some rich content here, done a really good job of designing this page. Go back to the documents. I can see a whole bunch of documents that are shared. If I click on the general folder, I can see that's where my document that I shared in Teams is stored here. So again, whatever you're familiar with or most comfortable with, you can work with documents any way how you choose, whether it's accessing through SharePoint, sharing a link from here, or going through Teams. If that's the only thing that's been installed on your device, or if you're working mobile, it might be easier for you to do. All right, so I want to go over very quickly last how you can create a team to support a new workload that you have. And you can use Microsoft Teams to develop teams that are either based on groups or maybe even a new project. And it's really up to you how you want to organize them, so long as your organization has made the ability for you to create new groups and new teams available to you. Some of them might have, some administrators might have that locked down and you just need to talk with somebody. But if you're in Teams and you click the Join Create button down here and you don't see this here, that's where you need to talk to your administrator about, hey, why can't I create a team? But most of the time you'll be able to do so. And I want to talk about the automation and the provisioning of resources such as SharePoint and OneNote that creating a team automatically takes care for you. So it's like, I don't know if I need to make a new team or make a SharePoint page. How do I go about accomplishing or using Microsoft 365 to support me and my workload or my project that I need to accomplish right now? I would say start with Teams and creating a new team and creating a new group, because it's going to take care of all of those options for you and you don't have to select which one. So I'm going to create a new team. And from here, I have the option to create a new team or one from an existing group if I want to copy the members or the layout of another team. I'm going to create a new one. And I'm going to make this public. I could choose to make this private, and nobody else in the organization would be able to see that I have a private team or the content that I shared in here across all of the resources that are provisioned. So the SharePoint, the OneNote, any of the apps that I add in, no one else will be able to see it, and the permissions are replicated across all of those services. However, I want everybody to see this because it's just a special project that I'm working on with a group that's not going to be operational for very long. Do special project team 1. Let it create. My new team is up and running. And if I scroll down to my teams window, I can see that it's been created right here. Now I just created the team and nobody's in it. How do I share this team or invite others to other members to be a part of the team? It's very easy. If you click the dots for a team that you've created or one that you're an owner of or have rights to add members to, you click that ellipsis and you have a whole bunch of options here. You'd either manage the team or add members. I'll just add somebody very quickly. And you can see that they're a member, or I can make them an owner, which allows them to change all the aspects and even delete the team if you make them an owner, if you don't need it in the future. But I'm just going to leave them as a member for now. And that person will get a notification on their end. So from here, I have a brand new team. There's nothing here, there's nothing going on, and I get the 3 basic tabs that are included with every team. My files folder, and if I click on that, since it's the first time, it's going to take a little bit to build. And there's nothing here, but I can go ahead and share something. I also get a wiki page. This is similar to if you've been working on a wiki within SharePoint or OneNote, and you can write anything here. You don't have to click the save button. So let's say this is a new policy document. This could be like an example of how to use this team or what this team's policy is when doing operations. And you could keep that here. It's already provisioned for you. You don't have to have a separate Word document or something like that. And it's very easy to get back to. Don't have to click any save buttons. It's all written in a very easy format if you're not familiar with the wiki format. If I want to add any tabs to this team, add any additional functionality, I can click the Add tab button and search for apps to add. Now you can see there's a big list here of apps. There is a lot of third-party apps that are included, in addition to all of the native apps found within 365. So up here you have all the tabs that are commonly used, like PDF, Planner if you're using that to divide work up with Microsoft 365, which is a new app. Another Word, you could just have a link to a specific Word document, same thing with Excel or PowerPoint. Forms if you're using that, or even, and this might be very helpful for other people, a document library from another site. So a lot of people have problems with, I need to see documents from somebody else's SharePoint site, somebody else's Teams SharePoint, but I need to work in it even though I don't want to create it or copy it over. You can do that very easily here. So from here, I can see all the documents that I have permissions to within my organization, all the document libraries hosted in SharePoint. So let's say that I wanted to add the Mark 8 project team folder. I'm going to go in here, identify the folder that I need, which is their basic document folder. I'm going to post to the channel that I've added this so everybody else knows in the posts, in the messages that I have added this and they can work on this. And it's going to, I'm going to give it a name. So just project 8 team. So it's easy to recognize in my tab. And hit save. And there you go. I haven't left my team. I'm still in my special project team. under my general channel, but I have direct access to a document library that if I needed to work in, I can do it from here. And I can just show you that that's not something that I've copied. You're not copying anything over. You're just working directly in a document library that you have access to. And that's from the Project 8 SharePoint team. So very easy to work across your organization as opposed to traditionally where it may have been a little bit more difficult or you had to navigate directly every single time to the documents and the libraries that you needed to work on. And I can add as many tabs as I'd like here. Again, if you have been working with third-party applications, let's say Jira, Kanban boards, you want to ingest another cloud storage location into your teams. Let's say your team has maybe files stored in a Google Drive or something like that. You can even add that here as well. All right, so that wraps up about Teams, that all the basic collaboration services. We didn't get too much into the meetings and calling service just because I don't have somebody else to work with right now. But if I wanted to call and chat with anybody directly, if I can just launch that from my chat and click the call button, or if I had a video service, I could do that. And that would launch an IP chat even without dialing service set up. Or if I wanted to chat immediately with everybody in my team, I could go here. Let's say I'm going to go into another team that I'm a part of that I know has members. Look at the posts files and see what's going on. See if there's any been meeting schedules because they would show up here. And if not, go to the calendar, schedule a meet now or schedule a new meeting and click what group I want to add or all those users. And the scheduling assistant shows up if you've been working with that, like in Outlook, to see if you're just trying to work on some availability times with other people. It'll show everybody else, but nobody else has any scheduled meetings, so it's not going to show for anybody right now. And I can add either groups or attendees. Same thing, very similar to working with Outlook calendar invites if you've done that in the past. And I can associate this with a channel. So channels are under teams. They're a way of subgrouping team content. So every team has a general channel, but you can create new ones as they go down. As you go down and maybe you have a different sub project under a team that they're working on and you just want to group the content that way. It creates a new SharePoint folder, new permissions for that channel. You can make that channel private. But if I select a channel here, it's going to associate this meeting with that channel, and everybody who has access to that channel knows that it exists. Nope, clicked the wrong button there. If I were to go back to a channel, I would see a post here saying that there's been a new meeting that occurs or a new meeting that's been scheduled or something like that. And you can click on it and see what's going on with that meeting. If you have a conference dialing information that's been added to the meeting, you can see that here. All right. And if it's a recurring meeting, this is another helpful hint. If it's a recurring meeting, Teams will keep track of comments and shared files that go on within that meeting so long as it's active for all of its recurrences. So this chat window here for this meeting is going to keep the history of chat no matter how many times we go in and out of this meeting. So this week, next week, 2 weeks from now, I would be able to go back and see anything that was said, anything that was shared for about 30 days before data starts to get archived, and you need to get administrators involved to go see data that's older than that. But anything that you would attach, share here, any links here, it keeps it live. So you don't have to keep a separate scribe or something like that, or a Word document and then email it afterwards or email recaps afterwards, because you can see everything that's here. That's going to be maintained for you without having to do any of that extra work. All right, so we got about 10 minutes left, and now is usually when I like to ask the field or anybody on the call if they have any specific questions, something I wasn't clear about, something that they'd like me to demonstrate, anything like that. I'm going to give that about a minute and a half for anybody to pose any questions they might have, and you can do that within the chat. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat. If not, I'll just move on to some common FAQs, Q&As. and anything else that I think might be helpful to as we've gone over and I review some of the topics that we discussed and some additional training opportunities you might have with Opsagility or Skill Me Up to get more in-depth training and actually build content and solutions on your own. All right, so I have no questions that have come through yet. And if you have submitted something, I don't see it yet in my chat window. I, I apologize, and if I don't see it, I just haven't seen anything come through the feed. But I do have some common questions that usually come up here for end users and users to the Microsoft 365 environment. So I'll run through these. So first question, how many people can be on a Teams meeting? If you've stood up Teams independently or to respond to COVID-19 and you need to talk to a lot of people, how many can you do that? If you're a teacher, how many people can you have in your class? 250 right now, and that's what's supported for everybody, every meeting that anybody is using across the world in Microsoft Teams. 250, and that's fully included with chat capabilities, video sharing, being able to present and share your screen if they're using the desktop client. And it's more to up to 10,000 if you're doing a live event, and that's accessible through Microsoft Stream. So Microsoft Stream is a service similar to YouTube that's proprietary to your organization, where you can build video playlists, and it's also the publishing source for when you're capturing a live event with Teams and producing it out. People will go through and access that live feed or the recording afterwards from Microsoft Stream link on the Microsoft Stream platform. Do I have to copy files from existing SharePoint sites? No, and I kind of demonstrated what it's like to, this was an environment where we stood up brand new and we have new SharePoint sites. However, if you're in an environment where you were using SharePoint in the past, let's say from the past 5 years, SharePoint 2016, and you were sharing files there and your administrators have been migrating you to a fully 365 platform, the existing SharePoint sites that are there and the documents that are there and the libraries that are there especially, no, you don't have to copy them over if you want to work on them within a team or a new SharePoint site. You would just ingest them or link to them in the same way that I demonstrated earlier. And it's made it before, some of you might have had issues with like, I need to see a specific folder within a document library, not the entire document library. Teams has made it very easy to do that, and SharePoint has made it a lot easier to do that as well now. But no, you don't have to actually copy any data or duplicate any data. You just link to where that data is hosted. How private are my files in OneDrive? This is addressing the concerns about cloud security and privacy, putting files somewhere else other than your own desktop or your own storage or in your own email account. And again, want to reiterate that it's private to you and your senior level technical administrators that own your environment within Teams. And that's also respective of any acceptable use policies or content that is owned by your business that they provision you account with respect of all that. By default, when you upload something to OneDrive, nobody else can just click in and see it. And it's only viewable to people that you either share with directly from your OneDrive, maybe you copy and paste it into a chat, or if you change permissions for multiple people to use it. And usually the default is to only read or contribute and not delete, but you can make it full access for others. But no, you don't have to worry about Microsoft looking into your documents, another organization looking into your documents. That's not how it's set up. And you can get help if you need. Let's say you have lost a file or something's errored out or you just think something's not working correctly. You can have one of your administrators work with you to like temporarily work within your folders, try to recover something, and then go back to how you were working if they don't need to be privy to what's going on with that content. Can I delete or modify a message in Microsoft Teams? Yes, you can. And that's something that really wasn't available if you were using Skype for Business in the past. So by default, if you're chatting with an individual or you're chatting in a Teams message for, let's say, within a channel, and you want to write something, by default, you could delete and actually go back and edit that team. And I'll actually demonstrate that very quickly. Let me pull that up here. So if you don't, when you click and you input a text or anything like that, you have these options up here to do something about it. If you click here and you do not see the option to edit or modify a message, that means that's been turned off by your administrator. out of the box, you might see something that says, I want to delete or modify this message. Let's see if I can do that in Teams. This is a group chat with my team. Again, it's turned off for me and I'm not able to do so. So you can, and it's been a hot topic amongst folks being able to send something, or let's say they thought they were typing in a chat window, but they really were typing in a Teams window, and what they meant to be between a private chat with somebody else is now in a team. How do I take that back? Well, out of the box or by default, you could by just clicking these docs and you would see delete something. I've turned it off for demonstration purposes because I want you to see that sometimes, and this is a common thing that is turned off by administrators when they first provision Teams for their organization, because they want to maintain that history either for like compliance services or archiving purposes. So just know that you can, and if you see that, great, but if not, it usually means it's been turned off. And my final note on that is, even if you can, if the feature is enabled for you to delete a message, to delete a chat, or go back and modify the message, right? A copy of the original thing that you sent, the original message that you sent, is actually stored in an archive format accessible by the senior most administrators of your team's organization. So just be warned that if you write something, just say, oh, I can delete it later, or if I made a mistake, just know that when it's deleted, it's maintained for at least 30 days by default in an archiving format that administrator would be able to go and see if they needed to. So just if you delete something or edit something, just know that it's not permanent, in a sense that nobody's going to be able to see the original thing that you posted or talked about. All right, so that wraps up for our introduction to Microsoft 365, introduction to Microsoft 365 and getting started. If that was, if you like that, or if you're interested in more in-depth training so you can get a comprehensive cloud training solution, either for end users or administrators, on everything in the cloud for Microsoft 365, all the way through building infrastructure with Azure. We provide virtual live training and lab environments, on-demand training, in person and virtually, with instructors on a variety of cloud topics. And you can either navigate to Optionality or Skill Me Up to see the different options that are available for you, and get the type of training that really helps you be the most productive in a really rapidly evolving technologically with the cloud, rapidly evolving environment. All right, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this webinar. I hope this was very helpful for you. If you have any further questions, again, you can reach out to me at my information that I shared earlier. Ask some questions once this video is posted, and we'll try to get back to you the best we can, or maybe have an idea for a future webinar that you'd like to see, or maybe a specific topic. Go ahead and comment in those things as well, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to you or get back to everybody with the video and the content that you need to be the most successful you can with Microsoft Office, Azure, or anything in the cloud. I want to thank everybody again. My name was Ryan Romero.